Hi everyone. In this video, we'll be looking into a game between Grandmaster Alireza Firouzja and Grandmaster Magnus Carlsen from the round 10 of Global Chess League between Team Firouzja and Team Carlsen. And winner of this match will be facing Team Anish Giri in the finals of Global Chess League. If you know the results of the previous game between these two in this Global Chess League, it was Alireza Firouzja who manages to flag Magnus Carlsen and win that match. And let's see how the round 2 of their clash goes on. Alireza Firouzja, starting with the white pieces, go for 1 e4. Magnus Carlsen replies with c5, knight to f3, e6, d4, c takes on d4, knight takes on d4, a6, c4, knight to f6, knight to c3, q into c7, a3, b6, bishop to e3, bishop to b7, f3, bishop to e7, bishop to e2, d6. Firouzja goes for castling, Carlsen also castles. Rook to c1, knight on b to d7, b4, rook on a to c8, q into d2, rook on f to e8, knight to b3, q into b8, rook on f to d1, h5, bishop to f4, knight to e5, knight to a4, bishop to c6, knight to b2, h4, q into e3, knight to g6. So after 20 moves into the match, Carlsen is having a small advantage of minus 0.5. And Firouzja continues with bishop to g5, b5, knight to d4, bishop to d7, h3, d5, c5, e5, knight to f5, bishop takes on f5, e takes on f5, knight to f4. So if you look at this position, after 26 moves into the game, Carlsen is having a small advantage of minus 1.2. So the right continuation here for Firouzja is to trade off the bishop for the knight by continuing bishop takes on f4. But in the game, he goes greedy and goes for bishop takes on h4, and this is a mistake. And now Carlsen's advantage increases further to minus 1.7. And he continues with knight to g4, f takes on g4, bishop takes on h4. Now once again in this position, the right continuation for Alireza Firouzja is to play the rook to c2. But once again, he missed the best move and play knight to d3. And this is again another mistake, and Carlsen is having a winning advantage now of minus 3. And he continues with d4, kicking away the queen, and queen moves to e4. Knight takes on e2 with check, queen takes on e2, e4, knight to f2. Now Carlsen is having two dangerous pass pawn in the middle of the board. Queen to f4, rook to f1, queen to e5, rook on c to e1, queen to d5, g5, queen takes on f5, queen to h5, queen to h7. So the right continuation here for Alireza Firouzja to play is trade off the queen. But instead he will try to keep the queens on the board by playing queen to g4, and this is another mistake again, and the match is again swinging in favor of Magnus Carlsen. And he continues with e3. And now Carlsen is attacking the knight, and once knight moves, the bishop will be taking the rook as well. Firouzja creates a counterplay and play g3 instead. And now in this position, Carlsen is having a winning advantage of minus 3.1. So the right continuation here for Magnus Carlsen to play is sacrificing this bishop for this pawn. So once Firouzja accepts this sacrifice, then he can push e2, and this rook is trapped. So Firouzja will be forced to give away this rook for a pawn, and this is totally winning for Magnus Carlsen. But in the game, Carlsen, even with the 2 minutes and 34 seconds on the clock, he missed this and play e takes on f2 with check, and now the match is back to balance again. And Firouzja continues with king takes on f2, queen to c2 with check, king to g1, bishop takes on g5, queen takes on g5. So at the end of the trade, material wise, both are balanced only. Carlsen continues with rook takes on e1, rook takes on e1, d3, queen to f5, rook to f8, rook to f1, queen to c3, queen to d5, queen takes on a3. And once again, after 45 moves, here is another critical junction in this game. Here Firouzja has one move, which is sacrificing his rook for this pawn. Once Carlsen accepts this sacrifice, then there is a forced draw for Alireza Firouzja here. He can continue with queen to d8 with check, rook to f8, queen to d5 with check, rook to f7, queen to d8 with check, king to h7, queen to h4 with check, king to g8, queen to d8 with check, king to h7, queen to h4 with check, king to g6, queen to g4 with check, king to h6, h4 with check, g6, g4 with check, f6, f4 with check, e7, c7 with check, e8, and this continues. and there is a forced draw for Alerasa Firouzja. But unfortunately, Firouzja missed this with just 19 seconds remaining in the clock. It was a hard move to find for Alerasa Firouzja, and he continues to push to C6, and this is a mistake. Now Carlsen is again winning this match with an advantage of -2, and he continues with queen takes on b4. Now Carlsen is upon 2 points of material, and Firouzja pushes again to c7. Now he's one square away from promotion, and Carlsen defends by playing queen to c4, queen to d7, d2, rook to d1. Here Carlsen is completely winning the game. So the right way for Carlsen to win this match is putting the queen to c1. Once the queen comes to c1, so the best continuation here for Firouzja is queen takes on d2, and then Carlsen can go ahead and capture queen takes on c7. There is no sort of counter player remaining for Alireza Firouzja in this position. But once again, Carlsen missed this and he plays queen to c5 with check, and the match is back to balance again. And Firouzja continues with king to g2, g6, rook takes on d2. Carlsen has given away his dangerous pass pawn. King to g7, queen to d8, queen to c6 with check, king to h2, rook to e8. Once again, the right continuation for Alireza Firouzja is to play queen to d4 with check, force the game to end in a draw. But he missed this and play h4 instead, and Carlsen is again winning the game. Here the only winning move for Magnus Carlsen is to bring his rook all the way to e1 and threatening a deadly mate here. It will be extremely difficult to defend this one. The best way for defending it will be rook to g2, rook to c1, queen to d4 with check, king to g8, queen to d8 with check, king to h7, h5, g takes on h5, queen to d3 with check, king to g7, queen to d4 with check, f6, queen to a7, queen takes on c7, and Carlsen is upon 3 points of material in this continuation. But unfortunately, Carlsen once again missed the best continuation in this position, and he plays b4 instead, and the match is again back to balance. h5, b3, rook to f2, g takes on h5, queen to g5 with check, queen to g6, queen to d8, queen to e6, queen to g5 with check, king to f8, queen to c5 with check, king to g8, queen to g5 with check. So the right combination for Magnus Carlsen to stay away from check is to play the king to h7 or even f8. But instead he will play queen to g6, and this is a huge mistake. Now it is Alireza Firouzja who is winning with a complete advantage of +4. Now the best continuation for Alireza Firouzja is to win this game here is trading of the queen. Once queen takes on g6 with check, then Carlsen will be forced to take this queen, and he can continue with rook to d2, king to f7, rook to d8, rook to e2 with check, king to h3, and rook to c2, c8 equal to queen, rook takes on c8, and rook takes on c8, and this is completely winning for Alireza Firouzja. But with just 7 seconds on the clock, Firouzja failed to find this move and play queen to d8 instead, and now the match is back to balance again. And Carlsen continues with queen to e6, queen to g5 with check, king to h8, rook to f6, queen to e2 with check, king to g1, queen to d1 with check, rook to f1, queen to d4 with check, rook to f2, rook to e1 with check, king to g2, queen to e4 with check, rook to f3, rook to e2 with check, king to h3, queen to e6 with check, g4, h takes on g4 with check. So the right continuation here for Alireza Firouzja is to capture this pawn with the queen, but he missed and he instead play king to g3 and hangs up a rook here. So the best continuation here for Magnus Carlsen is not to capture this rook. It is to play a rook to c2 first and keep an eye on this pawn, because this pawn is threatening promotion. But in the game, with just 11 seconds remaining in the clock, Carlsen goes for g takes on f3, and the match is again back to balance. And Firouzja continues with queen to h5 with check, king to g7, queen to g5 with check, king to f8, queen to d8 with check, king to g7, and it was in this position after 75 moves into the game. Magnus Carlsen manages to flag Alireza Firouzja and went on to win this game as well. But the overall match was won by Team Firouzja, and Team Firouzja manages to eliminate Team Carlsen from the Global Chess League. It will be Team Firouzja who will be facing Team Anish Giri in the finals of the Global Chess League tomorrow.